we have to begin to, understand that though we're impoverished, does not mean that we cannot achieve intellectually. I come from one of the poorest situations I know in Detroit. I come from the hood. And it was at some moment I understood that, I could read like a dream and I could write like imagination. And at that point I was able to, begin to imagine a way out. Poverty is not a learning disability. The last thing that I want to say is that we should be entitled. You all need to be entitled. Like, make demands on the system. And not only make demands on the system, if the system is not going to have high expectations of you, you have high expectations of yourself, and you demand that the system serve you in the ways that it serves other people. Which means that, you should get the best curriculum. You should have access to the best, experience, the most recent books. You should have access to people, who can, give you the options and the opportunities that you want. The problem is too often is that we walk in these spaces docile, believing that we don't belong there and believing that these spaces do not owe us anything. You deserve more. And of course, we owe you more.
I shared the story of my childhood with you all because I know you guys can relate. I also wanted you guys to get a sense of what's possible for you in just the next couple of years. I wasn't any better, I wasn't any smarter, and I wasn't that much older either. Regardless of the route you guys decide you want to take to be successful, based on my personal experiences, there are 3 universal things you guys have to keep in mind. 1 is a positive attitude. 2 is focus. And 3 is the ability to ask for help. The road to success is not easy. You need to be focused. There will always be distractions and other opportunities that will try and get you to take your eye off of your goal. You will not always have things happen the way you want them to. In fact, more often than not, they won't happen the way you expect them to. But they will always happen the way that they were meant to happen. Let me say that one more time for you guys. They will always happen the way that they were meant to happen. No one makes it by himself or herself. As long as you're thoughtful and you're willing to put in the work, you won't be wasting anyone's time.
In the past 10 years, I've been working with many scholars and motivating them as early as 7th grade to believe that college is an option for them. But I'm fighting against a system that tells them that, maybe you shouldn't start thinking about college. Or, maybe you shouldn't even think about Ivy League because you can't afford it. Can you speak to that for me, please?
I was a senior in high school and nothing against CUNYs, but I wanted to go the private school route because everyone around me stood home and I wanted a dorm and I wanted to experience all that. So I went to my high school counselor who was supposed to be the one person who was supposed to motivate me and get me, through that threshold, right? And I said, these are my grades, this is what I've done. Do you think I could get into Seton Hall University? She said, I wouldn't even bother applying. Okay, well, I applied anyway. Maybe that's because I'm a stubborn Capricorn, right? We were studying our signs before. But I applied anyway, and not only did I get in, but I got scholarship money, okay? Even those individuals that are supposed to be your mentors and your motivators, they might even not see something within yourself.
The beginning of how you began to find success for yourself is to learn to realize that you have the power to choose and the power to think how you want to think about your future, right? And that begins with even saying, if you decide, hey, this year I want to try and join an extracurricular activity. I want to do something outside of school so I can make myself better ready for high school or make myself better ready for college or get my college career on track. Or you might say, hey, I want to try to get a mentor in my life, someone who's a little bit older who can help me start thinking through some of these questions for my future. Because maybe my mom or dad or brother or sister don't know the answer to some of these questions. So let me start asking questions. I think it begins by setting goals for yourself and setting expectations. I think expectations is basically saying, I want something to happen for myself and I'm willing to do what it takes to get to where that's going to be, that's going to take me. I'm willing to do what it takes to get there. And I think that begins with you begin to start to sit down and think about how you want to envision your future and to talking to someone about it and realizing that you don't have to do it on your own and that you have support maybe through friends or mentors or maybe someone at your church or in your community who might not be necessarily in school, but might be able to give you advice because they did go to school, or they did go to college, or did go to high school, or they went to another place that's beyond where you're at now in your education. So remember, you are responsible for yourself and your thoughts. And you can change your perspective to think how you want to believe about your future, but you need help. No one person can bear the weight for their own success or their own failure. You know, and so the person who feels like they're down and out, and you think it's all up to you to figure out how to get back right, remember, there's a whole community around you. There's a group around you. There's people around you who not only maybe want to help you get out of that place, but also who might be in a similar place, who might benefit from hearing your story, because you might benefit from having a partner and a tag team member to go through life with, right? And then a person who is like exceeding and going above and beyond, remembering that you got there because of others. You got there because of the team around you. You got there because of even genetics that were given to you from your family. There's always a reason why you got to where you are, and you should share that with others so that people can know that it wasn't just you who got to that successful place, that it was a team around you. And those two things, that challenge, understanding that, is the epitome of not going too far to the dark place when you're feeling like you're out of it, or too far to an egoistic place where you think it was all because of you. It keeps you more centered.
I believe that we're gonna, manufacture a better tomorrow. The commitment is this, right? That there's an American computer scientist who said that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And what we have in this room right now are inventors who are going to invent for us a better future, right? And while we struggle now, our struggle won't be maintained. Steve Biko said it best. The most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And within this congregation, what I feel are chains breaking. There's a gospel song that I like. It's called Break Every Chains. And what I see here is breaking every chain. And to me, that's what the community, of commitment is. Individuals who are tied, young people who are tied to the community, who are daring and boldly so to suggest that we don't have to settle for the future that's been given us, that's steeped inside of a past, but we can have one on our terms, one with dignity, where our lives are valued, where our bodies are valued, where our minds are valued, and where the prospects of our future, can be prosperous.
We need you all to be successful. We need you all to be role models. We need you all to find cures for cancer. We need you all to help end homelessness and poverty and hunger. Really early on in my life, I understood that my life wasn't about me. It's about something much bigger. It's about making the world a better place. I may never be able to pay back anyone who's helped me. But if I live up to my fullest potential, I'm going to help so many other people. I also don't believe that the ability to ask for help is a skill or something of a gift that comes with having to be of a certain race or socioeconomic status. It's not because you're poor, you're less likely to ask for help, or if you're rich, you're better at asking for help. I think it's the same percentage regardless of class or race. The unfortunate reality, though, is that if you're from a poorer economic class, you're more likely to be being raised by a single parent or living in a no-parent household. There's a greater likelihood that your parents aren't college educated. There probably isn't a high probability that if you needed help and you didn't ask for it, that someone around you is just going to come to your rescue and make sure that you have it. You need to be able to speak up for yourself. You need to honor the value of your life and appreciate its fullest potential. In closing, I want to leave you all with one of my favorite quotes from one of my role models, civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. He once said, "Faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase." If you remember my 3 things to be successful, 1 is a positive attitude, 2 is focus, and 3 is the ability to ask for help, then the first step you take will lead you through a staircase rich with your heart's desires. Thank you, and God bless you all.